Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Hello, American families. Welcome to this week's episode of The Home Defense Show. I'm your host, Skip Coryell. And if you love your family, care about them deeply, and want to learn how to protect them in every facet of your life, then you come to the right place. Hey, we got a great show for you today. We are going to have Jared Fulton from Freedom Firearms in Battle Creek, Michigan. We're just going to have two hardcore, excellent firearms instructors, personal defense instructors, just shooting the bull, talking about what we love and what you love as well. It's going to be really, really good. You've heard Joel Fulton several times on the Home Defense Show. This is the second half of the Brothers Fulton, and you're going to love that. Oh, man. I am getting ready to chew off my left arm. It's about 11:33 a.m., and I'm on this diet. This is the same diet that John Correa has been on from Active Self-Protection, I think since April. He's lost like 43 pounds. But, man, I've been on it for 7 days, and I've lost about 2.5 pounds. It's killing me. I think I'm going to die. Of course, if I die, I will lose weight, but kind of defeats the purpose, I think. Here's the way this diet works. You have a 16-hour fast every single day. And that word fast, I don't think it means what they think it means. It goes very, very slow. But you fast from 8 p.m. at night to noon the following day. So right now, I haven't eaten anything for, 15 and a half hours? It's killing me. You know, I'm actually... I just drew blood on my arm. I'm ready to eat anything that gets within an arm's length here right now. You know, I guess I've lost 2.5 pounds in a week. It's low carb and no sugar. You know, how do you have no sugar? Well, you can't. There's sugar in everything, but basically it means that you cook your own food. You don't buy anything out at a restaurant because it comes with sugar. I'm eating a lot of meat and a lot of vegetables, some eggs and dairy, but you know, it's just not working fast enough. Oh man. You know, I'm determined to do it because what I'd like to do is I'd like to get down to 175, which is the weight that I had the day I got out of Marine Corps boot camp. Now, my wife heard that and she thought, oh, wow, you're going to be really buff. And I know, honey, it doesn't work that way. Just because you get rid of the fat doesn't mean you add muscle. You have to actually work out for that. And as I recall, in boot camp, it took me, 13 weeks of, the most grueling exercise of my entire life. And I'm under no misconception that I will become an 18-year-old again. Hey, this last week, I had my birthday. I am now 61 years old. 61 years old. Wow. My back is killing me just saying those words. But I've got all of my firewood in. We just did some more tomato canning last night. All we have left is pear juice, and that's usually an October thing that we do. But hey, having a good time. I am on page 190 of The Blind Man's Rage, book 4 in the God Virus 1,000-Year Night Apocalyptic Adventure series. Boy, I hope to have that done just in a couple of weeks, maybe less. I'd like to have that done by opening day of archery season, October 1, here in the great state of Michigan, the Mitten State. Well, let's launch right into the news here. You know, we've had a lot of mass shooting events lately. Have you noticed that? But before we get into that, I was on bearingarms.com and I saw the weirdest headline here. UC Berkeley police ask not to use restrooms so as to not trigger students. Trigger them into what? If there's one place on earth you'd go to see the dumbest ideas imaginable put into practice, I'd probably tell you it's UC Berkeley. Perhaps the most liberal school in the country, it's a perfect convergence of liberalism and ivory tower elitism. It's the kind of place that is convinced that idiotic ideas will not only work, but will flourish. Well, they're certainly flourishing in California. That place is crazier than a shithouse bat, I tell you. The latest bit of evidence for that assertion? They want campus police to not use restrooms on campus because it triggers students. Yes, really. Wow. This is coming from a 25-year veteran of their police force, said that he and his colleagues had never been treated with such disrespect and disregard as they were during Free Speech Week. They were using a ballroom to rest and eat in the Student Union building, and it was completely understandable when they were asked to use an external stairwell to get in and out of the ballroom, so as not to disrupt student activities. What was offensive and unacceptable was when they were asked to not use any restrooms in the building, as it was upsetting some students, he said. These worthless, little, spineless, no good for nothing, eating and not producing snowflakes. Go away and melt. The police are the ones who are protecting your right for idiotic free speech. And you're taking away their right to use the bathroom? Come on. Jeez, oh, Pete. You know, I have been boycotting the state of California ever since I left the Marine Corps. The last time I was in California, it was at Camp Pendleton, which, wasn't near as politically correct as the rest of California. But I tell you, folks, geez, California. It reminds me of Bruce Willis in Die Hard, the first Die Hard movie. Effing California. All right, let's move on to enough idiocy. Let's move on to mass shooters here. Here's one from channel3000.com. Headline reads, "I could have died today. Employee at Middleton Business describes shooting." That was that software business in, near Madison, Wisconsin? An employee at software company W2S Paradigm is thankful to be alive after he said an active shooter targeted people in his workplace. Police say that shooter has died. Okay, well, there's one good outcome. Drew Beatty, a developer at WTS Paradigm, told News 3 he was sitting at his desk when he heard 4 or 5 loud bangs. Yeah, hey, that's the way it starts. It always starts that way. 42% of mass shooting events occur in the workplace, not in schools, but in the workplace. And a lot of times you don't even know it's a gun. It kind of sounds surreal. "I didn't process what was happening," Beatty said. "I heard a couple more bangs and I saw some of my coworkers bolt out the door, and that's when I realized this was a crisis situation." Beatty said the shots were not rapid fire. It was bang, bang, bang. You could tell it was calculated shots. It wasn't just spraying around. Beatty said he crawled under desk in his office, and when he heard a pause in shots, he bolted for the door. "It's a glass door, and it was shattered, and there was a person outside the door that was injured," Beatty said. "He was on his hands and knees saying he was shot." I think I would have bolted for the door while the guy was shooting. Get out of there while he's preoccupied shooting other people. Don't wait till he's stopped and looking for more victims. Beatty said he is still trying to process what happened and that he wasn't sure of a motive or who the shooter was. He said he called his friends and family to say that they were okay, and that's when reality started to set in. Quote, "I could have died today, and there might be other people that died today that I know," Beatty said. "It's just crazy, really crazy." Well, yes, it is really crazy, and yes, you could have died. But how is that different from any other day? You don't get it, do you? The life that you have is on loan to you from God Almighty. You could die in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, okay, you're still there. You dodged that bullet. But hey, you could die any given day of your life. That's why you don't go to work unarmed. You arm yourself, you train yourself. You learn, you practice, you train, so that when you hear bang, 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 you run to a position of cover, you identify the shooter, identify what he's doing, and then you shoot him in the back 5 times. End of story. Again, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. It's the way it's always been. It has always been that way. You know, I've been trying to factor in the local news. This is like 15 minutes from my house, same county. School officer effort keeps going. Plainwell didn't have a school resource officer to begin the year, but that doesn't mean the effort is finished. There are still talks going on between Plainwell Superintendent Matt Montage and Plainwell City, as well as talks between lawyers for the city and school district. Based on a discussion at the last school board meeting, it sounds like there's a lot of legalese to get worked out, not only between the city and the schools, but also with having the SRO be able to head out to Cooper Elementary and have full arrest powers in Kalamazoo County. But there is also, it seems, a sticking point as far as who's going to pay for the officer. You know, that's absurd. It doesn't cost that much for a school resource officer. You're talking 5 figures. And a school the size of Plainwell? That's a pretty big school. And they have no protection there? You know, my wife was telling me, you know, every Friday she goes to a homeschool co-op where just a whole bunch of homeschool parents and their kids get together and they take different classes, and it's just a fun day where they learn a lot. And Sarah was telling me she was really surprised at how many of the parents have pulled their kids out of public schools, not for religious reasons or to get a better education, but because they're terrified to send their kids to public school because of the drugs, the violence, and the school shootings. I think, hey, Matt, superintendent from Plainwell, you better wake up, buddy. You know, another thing, what else did he say? He said, says the initial impetus to get an SRO came out of meetings held after a few high-profile school shootings. But Matt Montage has always been clear that he views the officer not as something to use against that worst-case active shooter scenario, but he believes it's a positive force to have in a district day to day and dealing with normal things. Personally, I tend to be very skeptical of the idea of a police officer being something to help stop a mass shooting event. I think... Matt, you are an idiot. You are a brain-dead moron. What do you think you're going to use to stop a mass shooter? Are you going to throw canned goods at the guy? Are you going to talk nice to him and just try and appeal to his inner child? Matt, you're an idiot, and you're right here in my county. You are so stupid. How are you going to stop the mass shooting event? How are you going to do it? You don't even have a cop in your school because you're too cheap to pay for it. And God forbid that you let the teachers defend themselves. If you don't want a cop there, you certainly don't want teachers armed or parents armed. Man, you got me going now. Hey, we better move on before I have an embolism or something. Tammy Baldwin thinks Middleton shooting proves need for more gun control. This is from bearingarms.com. More and more of the time, we on the pro-gun side of things, look at mass shootings, and after we process the law, start to look at just how the anti-gunners will try and spin this to justify more restrictions of our civil liberties. For example, after Las Vegas, bump stocks became the target. After Parkland, we saw renewed calls for an assault weapon ban. We're still reeling from the loss of life, but have to also go on the defensive against anti-gunners who want to take away or restrict our rights. It's exhausting, but it's also consistent. It will happen. And right on cue, we have Wisconsin Democrat Tammy Baldwin doing just that. Democratic U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin says the shooting at a Middleton software company shows the need for gun control measures that are, quote, consistent with the Second Amendment. Now, Tammy, you ignorant cow, Tammy, what gun control is consistent with the Second Amendment? Have you even read the Second Amendment? Let me quote it for you. A well-regulated militia, being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, how are you going to pass an anti-gun law that will be consistent with the Second Amendment? You're an idiot. Congress is infested with morons. Jeez. And so is Plainville, Michigan. Matt and Tammy here, why don't you have dinner together and discuss everything that you have in common? Jeez, oh Pete's. In other words, we don't even have all the facts in yet, but Baldwin is trotting out a series of the gun control side's favorite hits anyway. We don't know how the killer got his firearm. We don't know anything other than it was a semi-automatic handgun, the kind that would be minimally impacted by assault weapons ban, the kind that doesn't have bump stocks. Baldwin, however, is showing the great anti-gun tendency to lash out at anything to do with firearms simply because someone used a gun in a horrific crime. Oh, man. How do you work and play well with such idiots? How do you do that? You know, what is that saying? Was it Winston Churchill that said, if you're not a liberal at age 20, then you don't have a heart? And if you're not a conservative at age 40, you don't have a brain? I think that about sums it up. Tammy, Matt, that reminds me of Christopher Robin. It's a movie that I took my kids to just a few days ago, on my birthday, of all things. Christopher Robin referred to Winnie the Pooh as a bear of very little brain. Tammy Baldwin, Matt Montage, you are bears of very little brain. That's the only way I can think of it. You're not going to stop a bad guy with a gun actively shooting as many people as they can without a gun. Idiots. And they wonder why people are taking their kids out of school. It's not safe to be there anymore. Idiots. Okay, enough name calling. That's about all the time we have for segment 1 of the Home Defense Show. We're going to take a 2-minute break here. When we come back, we're going to have Jared Fulton, the second half of Freedom Firearms in Battle Creek, Michigan. And we're going to talk about guns, all kinds of guns. And Tammy and Matt will probably, their heads are going to explode if they listen to the show, because we're talking about guns. We're not going to apologize. We're going to like it. We're going to love it. We're going to want some more of it. All right, go ahead and check out our sponsors, EliteFirearms.us and FirearmsLegal.com/Midwest Tactical. This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
My name is CJ Coryell. Welcome to the Home Defense Show with my dad, Skip Coryell. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or Visit elitefirearms.us.
This is Colonel Denny Gillum. I host Frontlines of Freedom, a weekly syndicated military talk radio show. One of my co-hosts is Skip Coryell, the host of this show. We cover things that impact military and veteran communities, and we do it from the veteran's perspective. The show is broadcast across the nation and is also available as a podcast on our website, frontlinesoffreedom.com. Please join Skip and me weekly on Frontlines of Freedom.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. We are speaking today with Jared Fulton. He is the second half, or maybe the first half, of Freedom Firearms in Battle Creek, Michigan. Jared, welcome to the Home Defense Show.
Thank you very much, Skip. Well, welcome to all the listeners, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for being on. Now, Jared, we've had, your brother Joel on several times. But we never had
Correct.
you on, so gosh, I just wanted to, I want to get a balance here, because you and I are friends, just like Joel and I are friends, and we've had a lot of good talks, and we've done shooting on the range together. We've had some good times. So, hey, I want to bring those good times to the airwaves today, and talk about all kinds of stuff. Yeah, just anything. So, Jared. How's business at Freedom Firearms in Battle Creek, Michigan?
Well, not to say, be the Debbie Downer on things, but obviously we have, my brother likes to refer to it as the Trump slump when it comes to guns.
Yeah.
Overall, the industry is down as far as sales are concerned. But, there's a lot of guys that have been in business for a long time. They saw some of those things coming. We made our adjustments that need to be made, both, what inventory we're carrying, staffing, that type of thing. And, you're going to see that right now that, not just us, but other gun shops are a little bit slower than they have been in the past. But we're making it, and we're making it through. And in all honesty, I'm going to say that right now, we're pushing forward in a lot of areas in the political realm as far as our Second Amendment rights are concerned. And if we're a little slow because we've got a guy right now that's in office that's, on our side and in favor of firearms and is pushing those agendas type of thing, we'll take the slower business for the more freedom all day long.
Yeah, I have to deal with the same thing, and it reminds me of a movie quote, that guy that played Triple X, I can't remember what his, was it Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. He says, the things I do for my country. And that's basically, we're doing this for our country, and it's just fantastic. But, the same thing in the training world. I mean, my CPL classes are down, during Barack Obama. Whatever else you want to say about that man, he could sell guns, and boy, he had people lined up to take classes and get trained.
And not just the basic training. We had, you were in the same boat as I am. We had people, requesting the more advanced stuff. They were really into the training aspect of things. I remember coming up and helping you out with one of the first active shooter classes type of thing that you did. And that was a lot of fun, but, we're not seeing that as much overall from the general populace as we were just a few 2-3 years ago type of thing. So, he definitely could sell some guns, and he could definitely get people interested in our aspects of things. So, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. It's nice to not be on edge and not feel like you're going to be having things taken away from you from our government, and so it's nice to take that deep breath. And in all honesty, like you said, the fun sides of things, that you want to talk about today and bring in some of those good times. When we're not so serious about things, it's a whole lot easier to take a deep breath and actually enjoy the shooting sports and some of our training that we did to do. And sometimes even for guys like you and me, when we're working and training on the weekends, we don't get a whole lot of time to do the stuff that we want to do. So if I got an open weekend, maybe I get to go be a student and get to train somewhere, which is always fun for us too.
Oh yeah, well it's fun, but it's necessary too. I mean, I know you've taken a lot of advanced classes. You've gone on and done a lot of training. Talk about some of the advanced training that you've done. I know we've done some together, but talk about your training.
I've taken, like you said, several different classes. Some from notable instructors, and then some from instructors that maybe don't have the fame and fortune type of thing, as we might say, but are still solid instructors and did a great job. But probably 2 or 3 that really jump out at me would be the Rob Pincus class that you and I actually got to take together. Mm-hmm. Great training there. That combat focus shooting was fun. It was kind of an intense couple days, but we saw. First of all, we saw Rob himself teaching, and there's people that have taken some of his classes, and they may or may not agree with me. But on the range, he is kind of a hard-nosed person. Great guy as far as an individual. He's an individual, and you get him, separated. He's a great guy, very intelligent. He's doing a lot as far as, he's willing to talk to both sides of the aisles as far as the gun debate is concerned. And so I think he's really bringing a lot to the plate for the Second Amendment folks. But, on the range, hard nose. But,
yeah.
Boy, I tell you what, I don't know if you saw it, and I'm sure you did, and maybe you noticed it or not, but it's not always easy as an individual instructor to maintain control of a line of people of 15 and 20 people. You and I do both do the same. We bring in help. We want those second set of eyes to make sure that nobody's getting hurt. And Rob, in my opinion, is one of the elite instructors out there, but the way he controls a range is impressive. And so that's one of those things that I took away from that, is the amount of ability that he was able to maintain as an awareness on the range was just phenomenal. And it's one of those things that I'm going to go, I'm always going to bring in help, but boy, that's something that I can strive to achieve later. The other thing that probably a fun time that I had, but at the same time was some advanced training. It was a little bit out of the realm of pistol training. It was some more carbine training, but it was I actually took the same training 2 days in a row. One I went through with a carbine, and the other one I went through with a pistol. But we went over to Close Quarters Tactical over in Shelby Township, north side of Detroit area. Good friend of mine owns that facility, and they have a beautiful indoor range, but they also have a kind of a warehouse type setup where they have Connex boxes that they can, they've put doorways in and stuff, and they can change them and rearrange them with an overhead crane. And they've got this ability to go, and do some room clearing type exercises. And then on top of that, they have a 2-story live fire shoot house. You can shoot a 308 into the walls.
Wow.
And it won't penetrate. And it's a lot of fun. It's intense. We do a lot of training, but a lot of our training that you and I have done, especially, we do it on a lot of, across the country actually, it's done on outdoor ranges. You don't get that opportunity to find out what it takes to touch off a pistol or even a handgun, in an enclosed environment, in a tight room on a target. If you've never done it before, you're going to get a little bit of that adrenaline rush, that a little bit of excitement going on. It puts a little bit of a twist into that training scenario that I'm not just shooting at a piece of paper again, even though that is a lot, there's, live fire type scenarios. I wouldn't say live fire, but like simulation, force on force type scenarios that are on a next step level. But boy, being able to get into that shoot house with those 308s and 5.56, or in my case, I had a short barrel 300 blackout that was just, I would not have guessed that thing was going to shake and rattle my brain like it did, but man, it was concussive. But it was intense, and it was fun, and it was, there was a group of guys there. It was all a good group of guys, and we had a lot of fun. We learned some mistakes. We learned some stuff about our gear that just, it was, whether it worked or it didn't work. We saw the fail points. And it was just good times, and it was a good couple of days of training, and that's one that sticks out, I guess, maybe because I'm friends with the guy that owns the place. So, when you get to train with your friends, there's a little bit of, joking around and jovialness that you get to, rip each other later about, when you screwed up or something. So that's always that added little bonus type of thing. It's fun to do. So those would be probably the 2 that I really did jump out at me and that I remember in the last few years that I've done. So I liked them a lot.
The one that you were just talking about in Shelby, what's the name of that place again? Because I think I should probably interview that guy.
You definitely should interview the guy. Actually, the gentleman's name is Al Dustin. Is the guy that runs the place, and the name of the facility is Close Quarters Tactical. And if you're any of your listeners are from that area or are in that area, I highly recommend stopping in. They also have one of the 360-degree virtual reality simulants trainers. You put the vest on, so if you're in the thing and you don't make your hits quick enough, and the bad guy in the scenario gets his shot off, it zaps you. Mm-hmm. So it gives it's one more level of training to, let you understand, hey, I need to move to cover. I need to, be a little quicker. I need to, whatever the case may be, I need to hone my skills and make sure that my edges are sharp and I'm doing what it is. And, that old phrase, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
What better place to go than a place that's familiar with that's good instruction so that those guys can hone your skills, and then find your friends, take them with you, and then you can train together to keep making sure that you're sharp and you're on top of your game.
Yeah, that's for sure. You can never get enough training. You were talking about the Rob Pincus training, and I was talking to one of the guys that were in the class with you and I, and he made the comment that Rob Pincus is a real, and then he said, I can't repeat what he said.
Right.
And
right, I'm sure.
And that it's not true. When on the range, I mean, if I'm going to have 12 guys lined up and I'm the only one there watching, man, one, I got to have trust to the students, and two, you've got to have more control than you normally would have, or else, because if you lose control, somebody gets shot. And so
exactly.
God.
And there's one instance that stood out to me where he was having us move from one position to another, not just getting right off the X, but moving a little bit farther. And one of the students turned his body before he had drawn his firearm. Well, that then turned his firearm, basically uprange.
Yeah.
And before he could get it out of the holster, I mean, I saw it coming, but my first reaction was like to cringe because this is about to be bad. And he was already verbalizing stop.
Yeah.
And he froze him in his tracks. And then the guy, I don't think had realized what he had done yet, and Rob was probably a little aggressive at the time. I can tell you word for word what he said, but I'm not going to repeat that on air. But it made him think. And later, the thing that people probably don't realize that have taken his class later, Rob looked at everybody and said, the reason I'm harsh is because negative reinforcement makes you not want to do it again.
Yeah.
Much quicker than positive reinforcement.
Yeah, that's true.
In Rob's classes, he's putting a lot of information out there very quickly, and he wants you to absorb it as quickly as possible because he's trying to get to a certain goal by the end of the day, and his time is limited. So he needs to make sure that those principles are being absorbed as quickly as possible. And even when you might not be the one doing something dumb, and we'll just say it, you just did something dumb. Now, we've all done dumb stuff. Just it seems with firearms, it always seems like when you do something dumb, it seems like a much bigger deal because the consequences can be much larger. But you're doing something dumb. If you see somebody else do something dumb and he gets kind of scolded, your first immediate thought process is, I'm not doing that one again. And he just taught the entire group, by quote unquote taking care of one, he taught the entire group, we're not going to do that, and we're going to think about it first.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing about the scenarios that, he puts, that to put yourself in training is trying to get your brain to engage.
Yeah.
And make sure you're thinking things through. And in a self-defense situation, things happen fast. And when it comes down to the point where I need to, clear weather and go to work per se, that I want to be almost a reactionary speed.
Yeah.
But before then, all the other things that happen, am I legally justified? Are things going here? Do I have an escape route? Can I get away from this and just not have to worry about it at all? Those are all things where I have to engage my brain.
Yeah.
So that type of training, although it seems very intense and almost harsh, is critical.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
Yeah, definitely.
At the same time, I'm not going to teach that type of training to brand new students. People need to be ready for that. And once again, kudos to Rob. You can attest to this. I do an advanced type class, and I don't ever know who's going to show up.
Right.
You don't know what their skill levels are. You don't know what they can tell me, but just because they say they know doesn't always mean that they know. And that's nothing on them negatively, but until they show up and actually start demonstrating safety and good thought processes while they're moving and shooting and stuff like that, we don't know as instructors. So kudos to Rob for having people show up that he's never met before, hasn't had a clue who they are, and he can still maintain and control that range because just as well as I do how difficult that can be with brand new shooters that might just say, hey, you know what? I want to take it from this guy because, he's the best of the best type of thing. Everybody says he's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you take the class from him, and you go, you know what? I wasn't ready for that. But he's still there with you, and he's still going to get you what you need to do and make sure that you're, getting the information that you need and going through the exercises, but in a safe manner. So hats off to him, as tough as it can be and as harsh as it may be when you're there. It's top-notch training, and that's why he's Rob Pincus, I guess, for lack of a better term. And don't tell him I said that, because if he hears this, he's gonna give me all sorts of crap next time he sees me.
Well,
I don't need to inflate his ego anymore.
Hey, that which does not kill you makes you stronger, Jared.
True story.
All right, hey, Jared, we are out of time for this segment. We've had some good stuff, good talk. We are going to take a 2-minute break here. During the break, folks, head on out to firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical and check that out. Then go to elitefirearms.us. When we come back, we're going to talk more. Let's talk some more about training, and we might even get into a little bit of hunting. We'll see what happens. All right.
I like it.
Okay, folks, this is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
This is Felix Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Always use guns safely and wisely. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, folks, I want to tell you about my book, Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book. More and more people across the country are seeing the dangers in society and are deciding to carry concealed to protect themselves and their families. My new book lays it out step by step. It'll teach you how to protect and defend the ones you love. Get the benefit of 17 years of teaching experience and a lifetime of training for this important role in society and in your family. You can get Civilian Combat real easy. Just go to Amazon.com, search on Skip Coryell Civilian Combat, and it'll pop right up there. Don't put it off any longer. Get Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book by yours truly, Skip Coryell.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if life was like the movies and the good guys always won? In today's world, if you're forced to use your firearm to protect yourself, you will need protection. Firearms Legal Protection is here for you. FLP provides you with seasoned, experienced attorneys that handle your criminal and civil matters as a result of you protecting yourself. FirearmsLegal.com provides its members with uncapped attorney's fees, bail bond protection, and coverage in all 50 states. We are not a reimbursement plan. You can access uncapped attorney's fees for as low as $10 a month. Firearms Legal members are provided with educational services, training videos, and access to our vast national attorney network. While you're protecting yourself, let Firearms Legal protect you.
Listen up, folks. This is important. There are plenty of legal protection services out there, but none will protect you as well as Firearms Legal Protection. This is the one I use and the only one I recommend. Visit firearmslegal.com/Midwest Tactical and protect your family now. Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. We are speaking again with Jared Fulton from Freedom Firearms Indoor Gun Range Gun Store in Battle Creek, Michigan. Jared, we had a lot of good talk there about, Rob Pincus, advanced training. And, you brought up a good point there. You were basically what you were talking about is when you train under stress, it better prepares you for a real-life shooting event.
Yes. The hard part about training for a real-life shooting event is nobody volunteers to get shot at.
That's right.
I mean, that's the only way we're going to actually know how we're going to react when bullets start flying is to have bullets start flying at you. Yeah, we've got a lot of military personnel out there that have experienced it, and especially in the last decade with the wars we've been in. But guys of your caliber and folks from previous engagements, they understand. But if you look at that, that's still less than 3% of our society that has actually experienced that. Yeah. So how do you train for those types of scenarios? You got to put yourself under some sort of stress. Probably one of my favorite things to do that is, some people say it's ridiculous and some people say it's childish, but if you've never gone out and played with some airsoft, you probably should.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive. It's maybe not as harsh as simunition type of stuff, but it's inexpensive. I can get some of the exact same firearm models that I carry, so I can train with the exact same equipment. I can put it in my same holster. And when stuff starts going bad, you'll understand real quick. You get stung with one of them little BBs, and you realize, hey, you know what? I probably should get behind cover a little sooner. I should start probably looking for some sort of, concealment at bare minimum. I should have probably realized that was a bad idea and don't do it. So, and you play it in a war game scenario like capture the flag or something like that with your buddies, but there's multiple different principles that can be learned in that type of environment that's inexpensive, and you can have fun with it. I like doing it. Some people make fun of me. Some people don't, but until you've tried it, and you've tried it, not just tried it just in general, but try it with other people that have the same, and or as my dad used to tell me, always go for the guy with better skill set.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get better if you go after him. So train with people who know what they're doing, and now it takes it to another level even then. So, and there's also simunition and some other stuff, but anytime you can induce some stress, always go for it, because that is the way to do it. Whether it's, running in place for, digging a 100-yard dash and then coming back and trying to shoot your pistol. That is, some minor stress, but it induces some stress into your body, and it starts to let you know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, Jared, that's one of the things that the basic student really, they shy away from. Stress, anything that will make them look bad, they'll just kind of shy away from. It's like, if I can't do it really, really well, then I don't want to do it. I want to be embarrassed in front of people. But, that's the way we get better. We get better by screwing up in front of a bunch of people, looking like an idiot. Like you were talking about last segment, Rob Pincus yelling at you, saying, hey, idiot, did you forget how to shoot? Things like that. Those are the kinds of things that help you get better, because they push you, and it's a little bit, like military training, because, when I was in the Marine Corps, some of the best training in the world is military training, because you do that training knowing that, gosh, I'm probably going to have to use this, so you take it really seriously.
Right.
And they're in your face, they're yelling and they're screaming, and that's one of the things that I do. Even in my basic CPL class, the last drill that we do, boy, we're shooting from behind cover, using a challenge command, and we are yelling and screaming at these people to elevate their heart rate, to let them know what it feels like to shoot while under stress. And it's a very dangerous thing to do, potentially dangerous, because when people get stressed out, they do the dumbest things they've ever done in their entire life. Jeez, oh, Pete.
Yep. And when you just focusing on that for just a second, even some of the best people that I've had guys that I've trained with for myself before, and, we've done, I wouldn't say a lot of training, but enough training where I go, this guy is not going to be my problem child today. He's good. He's got everything's solid. He's shooting well. He's going through the class. He's going to pick up a few little nuances, and he's going to be good at the end of the day. But there's a lot of people who don't go out and train for 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
You get a student, even some of the best people, 5 or 6 hours, especially in the summertime when we're able to get out inside in Michigan, and getting out to the outdoor ranges. You put them in an 85-degree heat day like we've had this summer with some humidity, and right around hour number 4 or 5, people start fatiguing. When you fatigue, your brain shuts down, and you just do dumb stuff. Yeah. And it's nothing that you do with it. But as instructors, boy, we got to stay on our toes, because if we don't, somebody can get hurt really, really bad. So yeah, that's one of those things. But and going back to the point that you made about people that don't want to fail. I mean, I hate to say it, but we don't want to fail, and we don't want it to be hard either.
Yeah.
Because inherently, I think overall we're lazy people.
Yeah.
In general, people are lazy. We want the easy way. But training and being good at something doesn't come easy. It comes with some difficulty. I start almost every class that I teach. Within the first 5 or 10 minutes, I will tell people, today we are here to fail.
Yeah.
I want you to fail today. I want you to push yourself to your fail point so that you know where it is. We're going to back off from that fail point again, and we're going to build some confidence, and we're going to push that envelope just a little bit more and keep pushing it. But that's what I tell them every day. Failure is the goal.
Yeah.
I want to fail in practice because I don't want to fail in real life.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Failing on the range, that's how you learn. Failing on the street, that's how you die.
Yeah, you get buried at that one, and nobody remembers that guy.
For sure. All right.
I would rather not have, and like I said, I'd rather not have to do it at all. But boy, failure is definitely something to do on the range, not later down the line.
Yeah. Now, Jared, you also teach, you have an advanced class that you teach as well, correct?
I do. And it's almost cringe when I say the word advanced class, because I think it's kind of been, for lack of a better term, has been bastardized throughout the industry. What's an advanced class? What's a level 1, level 2, level 3 class? There's no standardization of it, so it's hard to say it's an advanced. I actually call it a basic weapons manipulation class. Mm-hmm. I say that because I don't want to scare away those people that have never really done it. I want them to realize that this is still kind of some basic information that everybody should have. But there's also those people out there that are like, hey, I've been shooting for 10, 15 years. What are you really going to teach me? Come to my class. I'll show you.
Yeah.
We focus on, I probably use a blend of probably a couple different folks' material out there, and they are probably Rob Pincus for a lot of his combat-focused shooting stuff. I was using that before I took his class and using that in my curriculum, and I've actually gained a lot of, I would say, insight and knowledge to how people react and how people do things in the real world. With some of the research and the video information that John Correa has been bringing to the industry. Mm-hmm. Some of that stuff is just invaluable. I mean, I love the fact that we can look at, in the last 10 years, we got all this video information that we can go, okay, every single time that happens.
Yeah.
Why does that always happen? And then sometimes you just don't have to know why. It's just human nature. We reactively do this. Rob Pincus was always big about, that startle reaction, the hands up, because he's seen it happen multiple times, and it happens regularly. So he's like, I don't need you to teach you to do that, but I want you to do it because you're going to have to come from that position to draw to access your firearm. So, watching the video really reinforces some of the stuff that we've been learning and teaching for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for John and some of the work that he's doing. And like I said, I like to kind of blend a little bit of do. And when I say it's a basic class, we're going to talk about probably one of the things that a lot of CPL holders don't ever practice.
Yeah.
It's the first thing we talk about.
Yeah.
Getting that gun out of the holster.
For sure. Well, I remember, was it last spring you had John Correa in over at Battle Creek, and I went to that class.
Yes.
Had a great day on the range. And John and I, we talked about that on the air afterwards. And, one of the things that I took away from that is I thought, well, I'm not going to learn a whole lot because I knew it was going to be a little more basic. But I tell you, he really helped me out the way I train people that already have their CPL. Because, the basic CPL class, you're talking 8 hours. They're not going to walk out of there like Wyatt Earp or Audie Murphy, okay? They're just not going to do that.
Obviously, yeah.
But, no. One of the things that I learned from John, and John said this, he took this approach. There are 3 skills that you have to master to make it through a gunfight. 1 is drawing your firearm. 2, shooting your firearm. And 3, moving. And I restructured my advanced classes to meet those criteria, and boy, it's a really good format for me.
It is, and in all honesty, it sounds from what you're saying there, and knowing already how you instruct, and you and I have had conversations before, and right along with with Joel involved, and I would not be surprised that you and I have both probably teach very similar to an advanced class, because we recognize those basic principles are what gets you to survive. Are there advanced skills that we can teach later down the line? Yeah, but they're advanced skills that come after hours of training to make sure you have mastered the basic fundamentals.
Yeah.
If you can master those basic fundamentals, accessing and drawing your firearm so that you can get that first round on target, shooting and getting that first round on target, and then following it up with some stuff that needs to happen, like more rounds, and then moving.
Yeah. Those
3 things will make you a winner of a gunfight. I don't know what the statistical odds are. John can probably tell you if he's been tracking it all, but it's got to be in the 90 percentile factor or higher.
Yeah.
I will take 90% all day long.
Yeah. But at
least I'm getting an A in the gunfight.
Yeah. The scare, you're right on all of that. The scary part is that stat that came out of Texas, where they did a survey and determined that less than 1% of people with their concealed carry permit actually go on to get any additional training whatsoever.
Right, and to couple that with the other study that Smith and Wesson did, that the average firearm is only shot less than 45 times.
Wow. Oh, my.
You couple that with less than 1% of training, and you look at it and you go, wow.
Yeah.
And as an instructor, I have to think to myself, am I not doing something right, or is it just, is I just not getting folks in interested or involved, or how do I get them interested involved? Because I don't want that statistic out there. I'd rather see it at 99% are the ones getting training, and the 1% are the ones that fall through the cracks, type of thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to see every gun out there has got 40 some rounds isn't even enough to let me know whether or not it's going to be reliable for me to carry.
You're right.
Sadly, and I'm in the gun world where I'm selling guns too, and I think to myself, these guns come back, as used guns, a year later, and the person will flat out tell us, I shot it that one day, I put a magazine through it, and we haven't shot it since.
Yeah. Wow.
And you just go, wow, that statistic is probably pretty doggone close to accurate and true. I want hundreds of rounds through my gun, if not thousands of rounds through my guns, to make sure that they're going to always be there for me when I need to. Obviously, and of course, maintaining and cleaning to make sure they're going to do that. But yeah, it's those two statistics are scary if you think about it on a grand scale. However, just to throw a good note in there, you take those statistics, and as scary as they might be, CPL holders are still the most law-abiding, and even when they are in confrontations, they're still doing their jobs the way they're supposed to be doing.
Yep. Yeah.
So you got to give us credit. You got to give our CPL holders across the nation. You got to give them credit. Do we see the stuff on Facebook where dumb people do dumb stuff and they're running their mouths and everything? Yeah, that's always going to be hyped up. But in general, the percentage of people that do the dumb stuff, that aren't using their brains and aren't using their heads and aren't getting training, they're still a small percentage, because when it comes down to it, it's really all about the CPL holders being aware, having awareness and avoidance, and actually staying away from the fight rather than getting into it.
Absolutely. All right, Jared, we are about out of time here, but we've gone through some really, really good stuff here. Before we go, talk to us about Freedom Firearms in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Quick rundown. Freedom Firearms, we've been around since 2002. We've been doing CPL classes here since that time. Right around 2006, we took over the retail section of the front portion of our store, and that's when Freedom Firearms was actually born. If you're familiar with us before that, Southside Sportsman's Club, you would probably understand that, recognize that name as our training side of our business. We have a 50-foot indoor pistol range. We do limit it to pistols and pistol caliber carbines and .22 rifles. We have a full retail shop, specializing in the handgun, the concealed carry type of stuff. We have nearly 100 rentals, so you can come in, try something that you like, see if you're going to like it, before you actually make that solid purchase. We've got ammunition, everything else available. We do some long guns. We can special order a bunch of stuff. We have a website where you can look at thousands of different products that may not be in the store but are available through our wholesalers. That's Freedom Firearms /online.biz. And that is a great website as well, and you can shop at home type of thing. Other than that, we do a lot of training. We do some outside stuff. We try to be active in our community. As you know, you've interviewed my brother, very politically active. He's always up at the Capitol doing something political-wise. And all of that falls underneath the umbrella of Freedom Firearms. I get involved with a lot of the wildlife organizations because I'm a hunter at heart, so I'm doing a lot of stuff with like Ducks Unlimited, National Wild Turkey Federation, Pheasants Forever, those types of organizations. So we try to be as broad spectrum as we can, and do our best to serve our community, in all honesty, and serve our Second Amendment supporters and our in general our hunting, shooting, and all the other stuff that goes with the outdoors. We love it, and that's what we're here for.
Fantastic. Jared, you and your brother Joel, you are my Second Amendment brothers. And, hey, you can come sit by my fire any darn time.
I agree with you 100%, my friend.
All right. Jared, thank you for being on the Home Defense Show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, Skip. And for all your listeners out there, keep listening, keep going on. Carry on and be safe, because that's what we need to do every single day.
All right, folks, we're going to have another 2-minute break. When we come back, we're going to do the show wrap up, and I'm going to tell you what I really think. This is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Welcome to my dad's Home Defense Radio show. You're gonna love it.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about my book, Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book. More and more people across the country are seeing the dangers in society and are deciding to carry concealed to protect themselves and their families. My new book lays it out step by step. It'll teach you how to protect and defend the ones you love. Get the benefit of 17 years of teaching experience and a lifetime of training for this important role in society and in your family. You can get Civilian Combat real easy. Just go to Amazon.com, search on Skip Coryell Civilian Combat, and it'll pop right up there. Don't put it off any longer. Get Civilian Combat, the Concealed Carry Book by yours truly, Skip Coryell.
This is Colonel Danny Gillum. I host Frontlines of Freedom, a weekly syndicated military talk radio show. One of my co-hosts is Skip Coryell, the host of this show. We cover things that impact military and veteran communities, and we do it from the veteran's perspective. The show is broadcast across the nation and is also available as a podcast on our website, frontlinesoffreedom.com. Please join Skip and me weekly on Frontlines of Freedom.
This is Skip Coryell from the Home Defense Show, and I want you to have the very best handgun that money can buy. And that's why we recommend you visit Larry Jackson at Elite Firearms and Training. As a concealed carry instructor, I see people every week out on the range with guns they can't shoot properly because they didn't know what to buy. That will never happen at Elite Firearms and Training. Larry Jackson will personally fit you with your very own personal defense pistol. So call Larry Jackson today at 616-299-8715 or visit elitefirearms.us.
Skip, it's time for the Armed America Report. What do we have this week?
All of us here at Frontlines of Freedom want our listeners to get trained and get armed in that order. We fully support the right to keep and bear arms for all law-abiding families, and we encourage you to find out about the laws governing use of deadly force in your state and follow them to the letter. And of course, don't forget to follow the rules of safety and common sense whenever you're carrying a firearm to protect the ones you love. What's the story this week, Colonel?
Well, criminals who are hell-bent on causing trouble typically don't care if someone innocent gets dragged into the fray, but when a law-abiding citizen has a gun, it can help end the thug's evil intent. A would-be thief at a Massachusetts grocery store used a large knife to hold a customer hostage while he robbed the store. A clerk had a personal firearm and shot the perp 3 times, prompting him to drop the knife and try to flee. The wounded man was later taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Thanks, Colonel. This is a great time to talk about a defensive concept called the Tueller Rule. This information comes from Michael Martin's book, Concealed Carry and Home Defense Fundamentals. Lieutenant Dennis Tueller of the Salt Lake City Police Department recognized that with practice, the average shooter could place 2 shots on target at a distance of 21 feet in about a second and a half. He then ran another set of tests to determine exactly how quickly an attacker could cover that same distance and discovered that it could be done in that same 1.5 seconds. Based on Tueller's experiments, most police departments in the U.S. now consider anything within 32 to 50 feet to be within the danger zone, where an officer should be prepared to issue commands, increase distance, or gain access to a firearm. So, what does that mean to military veterans who are now living in the civilian world? Just this. Do not, under any circumstances, take a knife attack lightly. Never assume that you automatically win the fight simply because you have a gun and your attacker has just a knife. Knives are deadly weapons and are very painful weapons at that. In general, I don't advocate issuing challenge commands to armed attackers who are within 30 feet of me. It's just not worth the risk because they'll be on top of you in less than 2 seconds. Bear in mind that the person attacking you with a knife will not be an 85-year-old man. He'll most likely be young, strong, and in the prime of his life. You have very little margin for error on this one. Also understand that when you're shooting at your attacker, he'll be running toward you, and moving human targets are very hard to hit and stop. When attacked with a knife, I recommend you create distance and put obstacles between you and the attacker. Then do as this armed citizen did in this week's self-defense story. Shoot as many times as necessary until the threat stops.
Well said, brother. Well said.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. This is your host, Skip Coryell. That was great speaking with Jared Fulton, the other half of Freedom Firearms in Battle Creek, Michigan. Love talking to that guy. I'm sure we'll have Jared on again, as well as his brother Joel from Freedom Firearms in Battle Creek, Michigan. Now comes a time in the show where I tell you what I really think, and this week I've been thinking a lot about the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. Mr. Kavanaugh is trying to be confirmed as a Supreme Court justice, and the far left is having no part of it. You know, I've been watching and listening to all the news this week, and one of the things that keeps coming up over and over and over again is the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. And I have to tell you, folks, it's starting to make me sick. I mean, really, is this what our country has come to, where a person is guilty until proven innocent? And this is totally aside from the question of did he assault her or did he not? What we're talking about here is something that either did or did not happen over 35 years ago? But when you watch the news coverage, you get the impression that it's a foregone conclusion. Brett Kavanaugh is a pervert. She said it happened, therefore it did happen. And I'm starting to get a little bit afraid for myself, my family, and for my country. Let's put it in terms that the average concealed carry holder can understand. Let's bring it right on home and make it clear. So here's the scenario. You're at your house on a Friday night, fast asleep at 2 a.m., when you hear a loud banging noise. So, being a good protector and defender, you grab your gun, dial 911, and take up a defensive position where you can wait for the police to arrive. As you wait, a man enters through your bedroom door and rushes toward you. You've taken all my tactical classes, so you fire 5 times, hitting him every time in the upper chest region. Bad guy goes down and the police arrive. You show the police the body and they ask you, can you prove to me that this man is truly a home invader and that you were legally justified in shooting him? Explain to us why we shouldn't arrest you and throw you in jail right now. Well, they saw no signs of forcible entry, so they just assumed that you're the bad guy. You gunned this man down simply because you are an evil person. Your guilt is the default. You are arrested and taken to jail. The county prosecutor then looks at the case and charges you with murder without even talking to you. You go to trial, and the government appoints you a lawyer who is also a blood relative of the deceased. Not surprisingly, he's unable to prove your innocence, and you end up spending the rest of your life in prison. Isn't that exactly what's happening to Brett Kavanaugh? But it's even worse for him because the charge is 35 years old, and there's no way he can go back in time and prove that he didn't assault her. It reminds me a little bit of the trial scene in that farcical movie called Idiocracy. It's one of my favorite movies. I want to play you a clip of that right now. It's about 1.5 minutes long, so please bear with me. And then when we come out the other side, I'll tell you some more of what I think. Here we go.
I'm fixing to commensurate this trial here. We gonna see if we can come up with a verdict up in here. Now, since y'all say you ain't got no money, we have proprietarily obtained for you one of them court-appointed lawyers. So put your hands together and give it up for Rico Pendejo.
You're my lawyer?
Says here you, robbed a hospital? Why'd you do that?
Yeah, I'm not guilty.
That's not what the other lawyer said.
I mean, listen, you gotta get me on the stand, okay? I can explain everything came here.
Shut up! Shut up! Prosecutor, why you think you done it?
Okay, number one, Your Honor. Just look at him.
He talks like a bag, too.
And B, we've got all this, evidence of how, this guy didn't even pay at the hospital. And I heard that he doesn't even have his tattoo. I know, and I'm all, you gotta be shitting me. But check this out, man. Judge should be like, guilty. Peace.
Come on, just get me on the stand.
Okay. Your Honor, I object that this guy also broke my apartment to shit.
Your Honor, I'm pretty sure we have a mistrial here, sir.
I'm gonna mistrial my foot up your ass, you don't shut up.
Please listen. Please listen. I didn't steal anything. I was part of an army experiment.
Joe stated his case logically and passionately, but his perceived effeminate voice only drew big gales of stupid laughter. Without adequate legal representation, Joe was given a stiff sentence.
If you haven't seen that movie yet, Idiocracy, it's with Luke Wilson. You've got to see it. I mean, there's some foul language in there quite a bit, some adult topics, but boy, when you watch that movie, it's like, man, this is really happening in America today. Well, do you see how idiotic things have become? Here in the good old US of A, you are now guilty until proven innocent. And you don't have to defend yourself against things you did or didn't do yesterday, but now you have to defend yourself for the past 50 years of your life. And here's my question, folks. Is that really the America you want to live in? Because I certainly don't want that. That's America with a K, not America with a C. That's not the way we're supposed to do things. It's like the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany. We're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. So stop and think about it before you passively accept what the left is telling you. Because not only do they want to make Brett Kavanaugh guilty, they also want to make every man, woman, and child in America guilty unless you're willing to go along with them and call a man guilty until proven innocent. And that, folks, is what I really think. All right, next week we are going to have Gabe Suarez from Suarez International. He is going to be on the show, and we're going to talk about shooting people in the back. Are you legally justified in doing that? Should you do that? Well, as you know, Gabe Suarez is a very no-holds-barred guy, so he'll speak frankly, passionately, and he's very, very well informed. Okay, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's episode of the Home Defense Show. Until next week, remember your purpose in life is to find something greater than yourself and serve it. Always remember God, family, country, in that order. It's important how you live, but it's equally important how you die. Your family and the ones you love need your protection, so train, always train, stay alert, stay alive. Until next week on the Home Defense Show, this is your host, Skip Coryell. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless America.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best in home defense.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!